Hey, if you want to avoid expensive repair bills, make sure you get regular maintenance for your AC unit. The regular price for AC tune-ups range from $70 to $250. And guess how much you can get them for?
I can hear it.
$17.76. That's why you should call Straight Shooter Heating and Cooling. They made the deal just for gun owner radio listeners. Why? Because they have a heart for the people in our community. Just straight up, honest service you can trust. Call Straight Shooter Heating and Cooling today at 619-922-3937 for $17.76. It's an AC tune-up, no bull, just cool. Or you can book online at straightshooter.ac. That's straightshooter.ac.
All right, got a couple of announcements. First off, Gun Prom. If you don't have your tickets by now, there is only a limit. There's just not much time left, so please go online, buy your tickets today. This is what helps us promote our voter guide and get our guys elected, which is the whole point. It's the whole point of what we're trying to do is to change public policy for the positive when it comes to Second Amendment. So help us out. Attend Gun Prom. Go to gunprom.com. Buy a ticket today.
And what's the date?
October 12th. October 12th. It's coming up. So please, please, please buy your tickets right now. San Diego Gun Show, September 7th and 8th in Escondido. Get your tickets there and pay for your classes. Tickets will get you into the gun show, and you'll get to see the symposium speakers for free. But then we also have some really cool classes. For more information on that, go to gunownersradio.com/gun show, and you'll get to see Dane White. Dane White's the mayor of Escondido and is a big part of why we're able to have the gun show in Escondido. You can win awesome prizes with QR Quest. Scan the QR codes at the selected tables at the show, and whoever gets the most points can win an off-roster PSA dagger, a Smith & Wesson Shield plus 2C Elite, or Gun Prom tickets. So come on out and have fun. Guns for sale, ammo for sale, all the great stuff. They're just starting. It's been about a year since the gun show has been back in San Diego, just over a year. And it's growing, and it's getting better and better and better. So please come out and support it. Even if all you do is buy a ticket and walk around and say hi to some old friends, you're helping out. So please do that. Okay, couple of cues for us to A. So the first one is, I think I actually already went over this, but I wanted to go over it again because I get it so often, and that is about borrowing guns. And this answer comes from Colin Rudolph, who's a licensed practicing attorney in San Diego, California. He's also a board member for San Diego County Gun Owners. He writes, I'm writing to summarize my research on the legality of temporarily loaning firearms to immediate family members in the state of California. The purpose of this letter is to present my findings and provide you with a comprehensive understanding of the legal issues and how to best comply with California law. California has some of the strictest gun laws in the country. Properly handling firearms is a tedious process with a lot of government oversight. It is crucial to follow all the necessary steps and fulfill all conditions to avoid criminal liability. And we actually have a story coming up with Colin where he's really going to illustrate that. In general, he writes, loaning firearms is not permissible under California law pursuant to California Penal Code Section 27545. So that's Penal Code Section 27545. Any parties looking to sell, loan, or transfer a firearm must do it through a licensed firearm dealer. Now, this is the way firearms laws, really all laws work in California. They say there's none of this, and then they give some exceptions. So they're basically saying, hey, you can't loan firearms, but now let's talk about, the exceptions, right? So, for like a general example is you can't drive a car except if you have a driver's license, right? So that's kind of how the law works. However, Section 27545 does not apply to immediate family under specific conditions. This means that if the following conditions are met, loaning a firearm for a short period of time, 30 days, to immediate family is permissible under California law. Under Section 27880, it is permissible to loan a registered, legally owned firearm to immediate family, and that's limited to parents, siblings, children, grandchildren, and grandparents only. Additionally, Section 27880 provides that this is applicable to relations above, whether by blood, step relation, or legal adoption. So many little ins and outs, so many ifs, ands, and buts.
What would you do without lawyers?
No kidding. In addition to loans being limited to the familial relations above, the following conditions must also apply. A, the loan is infrequent, defined as less than 6 transactions per calendar year, and no more than 50 total firearms per calendar year. B, the loan is for any lawful purpose. So if you can't loan it to somebody if they say they're going to go rob a bank. That's illegal. And then C, the loan does not exceed 30 days in duration. Okay, so fewer than 6 transactions per calendar year, and then it has to be for a lawful purpose, and then it can't be for more than 30 days. In other words, the loaner must not frequently loan their firearms. The loaner must not commit any unlawful act with the firearm, and the loan cannot exceed 30 days. So if you do loan somebody a firearm and they go commit a crime, you have committed an illegal act. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I mean,
Just like
I don't know
mud.
if it makes sense, but does
Just
it make
like
sense?
mud.
So finally, there are safety requirements that must also be fulfilled by a familial loan. For handguns specifically, the individual being loaned the firearm must have a valid, unexpired handgun safety certificate. For any firearm, the individual being loaned the firearm must have a valid firearm safety certificate. So both sides have to have a valid safety certificate. So in summary, to legally loan an immediate family member a firearm, the loanee must be in the immediate family of the loaner, parent, sibling, grandparent, grandchild, child. The loaner must not exceed the limited amount of permitted loans. The loanee must not use the firearm for an unlawful purpose, and the loan can't exceed 30 days. The loaner also must ensure the loanee has the necessary valid safety certificate. So that's, people ask, hey, can I loan? But you know what that ties to is, can you have a spousal gun on your CCW? One of the reasons, and we're actually working with the sheriff on that, because Riverside, you're allowed to have a spousal. But that was part of the pushback is, well, hey, how can you do that? Well, you can do that. If the spouse is loaning you the gun, there are certain situations where that is totally okay.
But not currently in San Diego.
Not currently in San Diego.
I have a question about that.
Yes, ma'am.
Not about the spousal part, but you mentioned the valid handgun safety certificate.
Mm-hmm.
Or the FSC, firearm safety certificate.
Yeah.
If you have a CCW, that's an X41 exemption. To not need that for purchase, is that same exemption in existence for a borrow?
Well, it sounds like by that letter you have to have it to borrow, and it has to be valid and unexpired.
So if you have a CCW and you've opted to let your FSC lapse because you don't need it to purchase, you cannot allow or loan or borrow.
You can't loan or borrow.
Okay.
So what would be the scenario that you would get caught if you didn't have that form?
Anything.
Say again? One more time?
What would be the scenario?
Well, I think if somebody got caught,
Caught like as in you got pulled over, you had a gun.
So actually, that's a really good question, and it's tying into what Colin, the attorney who wrote that letter, he's coming on at 4:15 to talk about that very thing. Not necessarily when it comes to borrowing, but a lot of people think, well, gee, I keep all my guns in a safe. I'm never going to get caught. It doesn't matter if they're legal or not. Wait till you hear this story that's coming up at 4:15.
Really?
Because I hear stories all the time about people who do things that doesn't quite comply with law, and they're smarter than me, and therefore they don't have to do it. They don't have to comply, and they're never going to get caught, and I'm dumb for following the law. So I hear about, and the reason they're talking to me is because they need an attorney, and they're in tears.
Right. Hey, just remember when the founding fathers drafted the Second Amendment, they were confirming the right for the public to own and carry and defend themselves. With the most advanced weapons currently in existence, they would have loved the AR. That was a post from John Dillon on X. John Dillon specializes in California gun laws, so put his number on your phone right now, 760-642-7150. That's John Dillon, California firearms lawyer, 760-642-7150.
Okay, our next guest is Colin Rudolph. He is both a San Diego County Gun Owners Board member and an attorney. We actually just heard a letter he wrote about loaning firearms. And so I wanted to bring him on and talk about a particularly important story, something that happened to one of his clients. And the important thing is that this is not isolated. So I don't want you to think to yourself that, hey, Mike's having this guest on because it's an unusual situation. I'm having this guest on because it is all too common a situation. It is something we could all learn from and remember. The gun laws in California are horrible. And the enforcement of the gun laws in California is even worse. And there's kind of an arrogance of, I don't know about an arrogance, but at least a confidence that people have. Then they think to themselves, well, I'm a good guy. I own a house and I got family and kids and I raise whatever, my kids right, and I pay my taxes. So, I can kind of skirt around some of these laws. I'm never going to get caught and da-da-da-da-da. And it's just, you're living on such thin ice that I think it's important that we hear these stories over and over again. Colin, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you doing today, Michael?
Good, man. Thanks for coming on the radio. Now, you heard the setup, and by the way, we just read your letter on how to loan firearms and what the legalities are. Thank you so much for taking the time to write that letter. That was awesome. So I wanted you to come on and talk about a recent client and what happened to them. How do you want to set it up? You want to just start talking about it in a kind of a linear fashion, and we'll kind of go through the story?
Well, I mean, you really set it up perfectly. It's I have this story, and it's not just one client. I've had several clients like this where they get charged with something that, a lot of us would say it's just one of those crazy gun laws, and it's in our minds we don't think it's illegal, but it is, and it can bite you on the back end if you get pulled over and you have something in the car that you might necessarily you shouldn't have. So I had a client I've had several clients, so like Michael said, this is more common than you would think, that got charged with assault weapons. And generally what you would think when somebody gets charged with assault weapons is they're doing something else wrong, and then they happen to have something that was an assault weapon or falls under the definition of an assault weapon in California. So we all know that's a made-up term, but the legal code does define it, and that's something that we have to worry about as gun owners in California. So my client,
it's not. So Colin, it's not an industry term. The industry didn't come up with this term. Yeah, the Germans kind of used it with this one gun, but really, it's not an industry term in that the industry has some sort of definition that fits an assault weapon. It's not like the example I always use is in the auto industry. If I said, "Hey, Dave, what's a pickup truck?" Dave would perfectly describe a pickup truck. And if you asked 10 other people that knew anything about cars to describe a pickup truck, they'd perfectly describe a pickup truck. If you ask somebody, hey, describe an assault weapon, you wouldn't get the same answer twice because it's not an industry term. But what California has done is that they have set up a bunch of rules, a bunch of restrictions, and then a gun that violates those ridiculous restrictions, they've termed an assault weapon. So that's the only way that term really exists, or why it's important in any way, is that it's a pejorative term set up by the state of California. So, okay, anyway, is that a good description, Colin?
Yes, very much so. And I have a few videos under the Rudolph firm YouTube that describe exactly what those things are, and going a little bit more into detail. It's hard to describe in just a minute or so here. But generally, yes, it needs to have certain components, mostly cosmetic features, changes nothing about how the gun actually functions. It's actually less ergonomic for most of the assault weapons, the way that they're defined. It makes it more dangerous in my mind. So these laws, even though we think that they're dumb and we don't agree with them, you can still get prosecuted for them. That's the main takeaway here. Like you said, it's very difficult to even define assault weapons. It varies from state to state. Even the director of the ATF was in a Senate hearing and was asked to define assault weapons and could not do it himself.
No, he couldn't do it. So So humiliating on his part. Okay, so talk about your client. First off, you had this client, they came to you and what were they accused of and how did it happen? And give a little background. I know you can't give specifics on the client, but this client wasn't a career criminal. This was just some normal guy, right?
No, I mean, that's what I get a lot of the times, are just normal everyday people. And those are the people that I love to defend, especially in these situations where I don't think they should be in any kind of hot water whatsoever to begin with. But then they got themselves into the situation, and I'm going to try and help them out of it. And all of a sudden, a lot of these people, they see their life get flipped upside down because they're charged with several felonies, and they can barely understand why.
And so what was he doing? How did he get caught with these guns that the state of California considers an assault weapon? What activities was he engaged in?
Just driving around. Got pulled over, and one thing led to another, and all of a sudden he had some rifles and some other things in his vehicle and got charged with a couple different things. And like I said, my other clients, similar situations where it's mostly transportation, where they're driving around, they get pulled over for something else, but all of a sudden, start talking to the officer. That's why I always harp on don't answer any questions when it comes to the cops. The police are not your friend. It always reminds me of that saying from Ronald Reagan. We're here from the government and we're here to help. That's one of the scariest things you can possibly hear. And the police are not your friend. They're the handcuff guys. They're the ones who are trying to get enough evidence against you to hand over to a DA that will prosecute you. And the biggest thing is you might have some friends that are cops that are good people, and there are a lot of cops that are good people. But the problem is the cops that pull you over generally do not know you, especially if you're a good person. You don't have interactions with the police that much. You're not going to be a frequent flyer with them. So the people that think, oh, I'm a good person, I don't have anything to worry about, those are the people that get tripped up because when they start talking to the cops, they think they have nothing to hide, and then all of a sudden something that they didn't even know was illegal, it's illegal. I find this often a lot of times with hobbyists and people that like to build ARs. Some people don't go into finding out what pieces are legal and what's not. All of a sudden you put, a front and vertical foregrip on it, and all of a sudden you have yourself an assault rifle. Maybe you don't understand why you have that stupid fin on your grip and you rip it off. All of a sudden you have an assault rifle. There's a number of different ways that you can get an assault rifle within the definition in California without even knowing it for most people.
Yeah, I saw a statistic a few years ago. It's something, between 80 and 90% of assault weapons charges originated from some completely unrelated firearms charge. In other words, they got pulled over for speeding or something else was going on. I have heard stories about a guy. I remember a guy up in, I think it was Long Beach. His house was burning down. And so the firemen were trying to put the fire out, and they're also hauling his stuff out of the house while they could. Pictures and guns. Put his guns on the front lawn. Cops came by because it's a fire, hauled him away in cuffs.
Wow.
Because he had a gun that was configured illegally.
Yeah, absolutely. It happens all the time. I even had people, I remember years ago when we first had the assault weapons ban language come into California, and people would say, oh, well, even the DOJ gave us the instructions. If you keep the upper and the lower separate, you should be fine, basically. If you had it in that certain configuration, if you keep them separate, then it's not a fully functioning rifle, and you should be okay. I've had a client who had a rifle that was separated, and when the cops came and took it, they looked at it, and then they put it together, and then they booked it into evidence. And he couldn't get it back because then all of a sudden it was in a configuration that wasn't legal in California. So then when he won his case and he was allowed to have his guns again, they wouldn't give it back to him, and they ended up destroying it instead. Because he said, originally I had this in two pieces, and they took it, and now it's in one part, and it's in an illegal configuration. What can I do? I'm like, it's really hard because back then too, they didn't really have body cam the way they have now. And all that stuff was destroyed because once you get done with a case, the government doesn't really keep around too much evidence anymore either. So those things are very, very hard to fight.
So what's your advice in general?
Well, my advice is to try and know the laws and educate yourself so that you know what the legal bounds are. And then you can make your own decisions. I'm nobody's father in this that's listening to this. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I can try and advise you of what the law is so that you can make your own decisions. And when you think about it, what my clients have been charged with is the Penal Code Section 30605, and that is the assault weapons penal code for California. And the thing that you need to know about that is for having an assault weapon, it can be charged as felony or as a misdemeanor. But the felony, that brings a pretty hefty time along with it. So you can be imprisoned for up to 3 years for having an assault weapon in the state of California. I'm not saying that's going to happen, especially if you get a good lawyer, but that is something that's a possibility. Same thing with if you have a short-barreled rifle. A short-barreled rifle is under a different penal code, 33215, and that's also a felony. That's another one that my clients have been hit with before. You know, they're hobbyists. They're like, oh, I see that super short barrel like on some website or something, and then they change out their upper. All of a sudden, they have a short-barreled rifle, and they didn't know it. Or they started off with a pistol, and then they put a rifle stock on it, and then it turns into a short-barrel rifle. There's a number of ways that people can trip up and get themselves into trouble, and all of a sudden they're facing a 3-year maximum sentence,
which is hefty, and it's a lot of money too. And I got to tell you, the notion of not complying, that's romantic, and you sound like a tough guy, and that's fantastic. But you know what a real tough guy is? A real tough guy is fighting back against the government and getting them to comply to your will. So don't break the law. You're not, because a lot of real tough guys have been on the other end of my phone in tears saying, I can't afford this. I'm going to go to jail. What do I do? We got to get him an attorney, and we got to get him a good attorney, and we got to do it quick. And, it's not in our budget. We don't provide, defense funds for attorneys. So you could be in a real world of hurt. But if you want to be a real tough guy, if you really want to show the government who's the boss, then help us change the law for the better. Help us get rid of these laws and get the right people elected. That's the way you're supposed to. That's the American way. Non-compliance, not the American way. Changing the law and making sure that you are that the government is respecting your rights, that's the American way. Colin, what's your website so people can visit you and call you and if they need you?
TheRudolphFirm.com.
Hey, thanks again, Condor Outdoor, for supporting the upcoming gun show on September 7th and 8th. Mark your calendar. Another reason to go to the gun show is you'll be able to win their new Nomad backpack. The Nomad is a versatile and durable backpack for outdoor enthusiasts and urban explorers alike. So if you're looking for the best in tactical gear, look no further than Condor Outdoor. Use code GOR for a 15% discount off the website. That's condoroutdoor.com. That's GOR for a 15% discount. Use that code.
So, got a couple of interesting bits of info here. One of the folks that we endorsed up in Vista, she's running against an incumbent. Her name's Denise, and she's running against the incumbent whose name is Katie Melendez. Mm-hmm. And Katie Melendez is on the city council in Vista. And she is kind of one of these, I want to say like a wolf in sheep's clothing, but wolf is a little strong of a term. It's more like if the wolf had like dyed its hair purple and, you know what I mean?
I know
like,
somebody did
What
that.
are you trying to say, Mike?
Oh, yeah, sorry. But just kind of, she's a weirdo, Melendez is. Not
This
what's her name
This
over
isn't
here?
going well.
She's a weirdo in a whole different way. Yeah. So Melendez is a weirdo, but she pretends to be normal. And she's been relatively extreme when it comes to a city council member, especially for Vista. You know, Vista isn't that's not a city where you're going to be some weirdo lefty, you know, whatever, progressive. So she finagled the endorsement of the sheriff, and then the sheriff pulled that endorsement.
he realized he pulled one on her, or she pulled one on her.
Yes. So it's if you don't get endorsed, it's one thing. But if you get endorsed and someone pulls their endorsement, that is horrible. I mean, so rarely. I can't tell you how many people, elected officials I've talked to, or endorse somebody and they kind of go, I regret it. I wish I hadn't. But they don't pull it. That is such an extreme thing to do in the world of politics. Apparently, she had posted, this Melendez lady in Vista had posted some pretty extremist views against cops. And when that came to light, the sheriff immediately yanked her endorsement. So Melendez is in big trouble.
But see, that's another reason why I like that sheriff.
What is that?
Well, you remember, everybody gave us a hard time because she was a Democrat, right?
Yep.
But we voted for her because we thought she was doing the right thing.
Yep. She's not afraid to make a decision.
She didn't have to pull that.
No, she didn't. And she
could have just left it alone and everything would have been fine.
Yep. But she pulled it.
So I'm just saying that's another reason why I think we made the right decision.
I agree. Her opponent, the one that we endorsed, is Denise Berrigan. And Denise is absolutely fantastic. She is involved in all kinds. She's a small business owner, but she's also involved in a bunch of different boards and not-for-profits and that sort of thing. She's a hard worker. She's absolutely fantastic. She's been at our meeting. She's given a talk. Her name's Denise Berrigan, Barragan. So support her. Support her with your dime and with your time. But I thought it was super interesting that this Melendez lady is so extreme that she lost.
Is there any repercussions other than losing the endorsement?
Well, I hope that we force the repercussion. In other words, she loses because of it.
Yeah.
It's hard to beat an incumbent. No matter what, an incumbent has an advantage. So hopefully, pulling this endorsement will seal her fate. But it doesn't just happen. You got to make it happen. So
right.
if you live anywhere near Vista, please, volunteer. Walk a neighborhood for her. Do something to help her.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't live anywhere near Vista, then go on our website and give $10 or something.
Right, something.
$100,
help her
$50,
out.
$20, $21, something. So one of the things that I want to do more of is talk about the little things that San Diego County Gun Owners does. We look at these big lawsuits and we look at like a big victory like CCW's, and it's easy to get kind of spoiled, with these big things. But there's a lot of little things that we do on an everyday basis that don't get talked about enough that really, truly help change people's lives. We talked about like the one guy who got his CCW taken away and we helped him get it back and that sort of thing. That's awesome, and I love those little things. A few months ago, I started a project. For the last couple years, this gun ranges, indoor and outdoor gun ranges, have been complaining that the county inspections are just killing them. And the county, it's hazardous material is who it is, which is, for gun ranges, that's lead. Mm-hmm. That's really what they're worried about. It's not limited to just that, but that's pretty much why they're involved. And they're saying, hey, you know what? We don't know what to do here. We think they're out to get us, because we're guns. And we're trying to follow the law here. We're trying to follow the regulations, and they appear to be totally subjective, and they're fining us 5 figures, 6 figures, 5 figures, and 6 figures. How many businesses? I mean, and we're talking about, these are mom and pop shops.
Now, this is just the lead that's at the other end of the range.
Yeah.
Don't they pick that up daily?
Well, it's a lot more complicated than that.
No, it's not. No, they don't.
Why not?
But it's not more complicated than that, though. It's not just the lead at the end of the range. There's lead on everything inside a gun range. Like it can possibly, like the dust can possibly get on everything. Mm-hmm. So you got to clean it up. But then after you clean it up, so say, Dave, you wipe it up, right? So now you got like this wipe, and you wipe up all the lead off of a counter.
Yeah.
Now you get it. That's a dangerous piece of material.
True.
That
rag,
paper towel, that rag,
or whatever.
So you have to dispose of that properly.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, there's a big trap at the end of the range, and I don't really know exactly how often they change. They haul that lead out of there. A couple times a year. Sound about right?
Several times a year, or at least the ones I'm a part of. Yes.
Okay, is that overly expensive to do?
It is. Yeah, they bring in there's a company that does it overnight, They bring in lots of big equipment. They have to kind of almost like, for lack of a better term, like a giant shop vac just to kind of pull all that junk out. And they use special filtering equipment.
Plus the air filter, the HEPA filter that's pulling the air out, that has to capture all the lead because there's little particles. So you can't just take all that lead and put it out into the atmosphere or even on the roof, you know?
I'm just thinking it's got to be something easier because when the lead hits the target, it just falls on the ground.
They got it. I mean, I don't know if we'll be able to solve that problem.
Sounds like you and I need to go into business and make a machine.
I think but let's talk about what we did do right here. So, so the cool thing is, I'm like, well, all right, everybody's getting hit by 5 and 6 figures. I mean, imagine being a small mom and pop shop, right?
Right.
And
that's half of them.
Getting a $50,000 fine for doing something that you didn't even know was wrong or you thought you were following the law. You know what I mean? How many businesses can
I know
maintain?
out at South Bay they kept changing the rules too on almost a weekly basis. One week we could put targets in the regular trash. The next week they were hazardous waste, and it just depended on who came out and checked and said what we needed to do, and the rules kept flopping back and forth.
Right.
So here's
what I did. Here's what I did.
In other words, shut up, Dave. Jesus Christ.
I don't think we're going to invent anything on the air, but I do know what I've done. So here's what I have done. So I reached out to, especially big shout out to Joel Anderson, by the way, Supervisor Joel Anderson, who's wonderful. His office really helped. Reached out to the hazardous waste department and said, "Hey, you guys are viewed as predatory and subjective. What do we do?" And they said, "Well, gee, we didn't know that. Like we regulate all kinds of industry. We're not out to get guns. We regulate, the Navy. We regulate restaurant. We regulate all kinds of stuff. So let's figure this out." And I said, well, there's got to be some best practices so that, things aren't subjective, so that they are totally objective and clear. And they said, well, let's have a meeting. So it took a couple of months, and just about every range in San Diego attended a meeting on last week, Monday. And it was with these hazardous waste folks. And they were extremely open-minded and ready to make things better. And these were every indoor range you can think of, right? The Gun Range San Diego, Discount Gun Mart, North County Shooting Center, Iron Sights. They regulate all those, right? Powie weapons and gear. But then they also regulate outdoor ranges, South Bay, Lemon Grove, Escondido Fish and Game. But then they also regulate government ranges like Carlsbad's indoor range. So the government isn't, government ranges aren't exempt from this thing. So we met and we said, hey, here are the problems. What are some of the solutions? Let's get this all figured out. And sure enough, they were like, hey, you know what? We want to do a better job. We want to service you guys far better. I said, I think that what we should all strive for is no violations, which would result in no fees, and that we should all be on the same side of the table. And they said, yeah, we want to be on the same side of the table. You know what I mean by that? Like we're all on the same side, So there's going to be a follow-up meeting where they actually get to talk to the field inspectors, and then they're actually going to put together a series of best practices and clarify, hey, this is exactly what we need from gun range.
Wow.
Gun registry.
Job well done.
Yeah, it's doing really, really well. Plus, we're going to do a biannual, twice a year, biannual Zoom meeting where they're going to come on and say, hey, look, here's some of the changes, here's some of the updates, here's some even more best practices. We want to make sure that you're successful. They get searched. They get inspected about once every 3 years or so. And they said, hey, we want to make sure that every single inspection is successful.
Okay, so I can't see this working.
Why? See what working?
What?
His invention.
No, well, my invention would work, but the amount of money, if you're talking 6 digits, the amount of money the state of California is bringing in from these ranges, do you think Newsom and his people are going to stop that money flow?
I think if there are no violations, there's no money to be had.
But he can definitely put in that there's violations.
Not if the
there's no violations. Well,
not if the inspectors are on the same side of the table.
Wow.
See what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
So look, this is a major, big step, and I got to say, I was watching gun range owners hug inspectors at the end of this meeting.
Oh my goodness!
I mean, that's how well it went.
I'd wait till after the next inspection. I don't think I would do it before, right?
Well, but hopefully, like I said, all these all the preparations are gonna pay dividends. Here's what doesn't work, Dave: sitting around twiddling your thumbs, complaining, and calling people anti-gun.
I agree.
Doesn't work.
I agree.
So I said, hey, has anybody actually tried talking to these folks? You know?
What concept?
And so, boom. So we're talking to them. We're all going in the right direction. I'm really, really excited about it.
Right.
I wanted to get everybody up to date on that.
That's great. Good news for San Diego.
And then we have even more good news coming up in the next segment. We've got a really cool guest.
All right, let's do it. If the idea of Kamala issuing an executive order for gun control makes you mad, you need to go to Gun Prom. Gun Prom is the ounce of prevention in the fight for the Second Amendment. Lawsuits are critical, but that takes millions of dollars and decades to fix bad gun control laws. Instead, let's create a future where gun control has never got passed. Going to Gun Prom helps get more pro-gun local officials elected, so bad gun control laws never get passed. So go to gunprom.com now and get your tickets. That's gunprom.com and grab your tickets now.
Okay, one of our candidates that we've endorsed proudly is running for mayor of Oceanside. And, there's been a lot of focus on debates and interviews and that sort of thing. But here locally, we had a real fiery debate last week. And so I wanted, that included Ryan Keim, who's running for Oceanside Mayor. And I wanted him to come on and introduce him to everybody and talk about the debate and talk about his candidacy and his campaign in general. Ryan, how are you, sir?
I'm good, Michael. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
You bet, man. Thank you for being here. So you're currently on the Oceanside City Council, and you're running for mayor, correct?
Correct. I've been in the council since 2019. I've been our deputy mayor for the last 4 years, and we're hoping to change a little bit of direction of our city with some common sense this election.
And you're running against an incumbent mayor, and she's been there for a little while, right?
That would be an understatement. So our current, she was on council for 20 years, and then she was elected mayor in 2020. So about 24 years total.
And I got to tell you, I've dealt with her on a few things. It's interesting that she's the mayor. She doesn't quite feel like someone who fits the politics of Oceanside. She definitely. It's kind of surprising that she got onto the city council, let alone became mayor. So it's kind of surprising that she's been there for so long.
Well, so what we've had in Oceanside, we don't have primaries. So when we've had races, so when she won mayor, there's 12 candidates that ran for that seat. So she won that with 29% of the vote.
Wow. Yeah. So 29%. So like fewer than 1 in 3 people voted for your current mayor. That's amazing.
Correct. 71% wanted somebody else.
Okay, so you decided to run. What was before? And I want to talk. You decided to run for mayor. Before we talk about the actual debate, you guys had a debate. Is it a forum, a debate? How would you describe what you guys did last week?
It was you could call it either or. It's a debate. I mean, it was pretty loose as far as the rules. So it was good because you got to see the clear policy difference. It was an hour of just our current mayor and I, because we're the only 2 candidates running, answering some of our most pressing issues in the city.
And how do you feel it went?
Here's my thing. I've been on 5 years, almost 6, and I can point to a handful of tangible things that we've done and progress we've made. And that's what my goal was during this debate. It wasn't to attack the current incumbent, but just to show the complete difference in record. The current mayor has been in 24 years, and her talking points, well, I wish we could do this. I'm imagining this. And 24 years, if you haven't gotten it done at that point, it's a problem.
And the feedback I got, I didn't actually see the entire debate, but I was getting messages from multiple people who were watching, and the consensus was you mopped the floor with her, Ryan. Like that it was a really poor showing on her part, that she really, really couldn't defend her record, that she tried to blame things. She tried to blame her shortcomings on other people. And it was like, well, wait a minute. You've been here for, all these years. You can't get your agenda implemented because of, a few people that haven't been there half as long as you have. I guess there was even a really funny part in the debate where she tried to name drop an Oceanside PD officer as if they were friends, and then she didn't even know her last name, and you had to jump in and inform her what the last name of this police officer was that she was claiming to be such good friends with. I mean, it didn't sound like it went well for her at all.
No, and I think this is the problem. She spent her entire time focusing on attacking me on different things, and most weren't accurate. And I think that's what we need in national politics right now. We need some real policies put forward about how we're going to fix issues. Right, that's what our residents and our voters want. I mean, they want to know what we're going to do, whether it's inflation or crime. These things they want real answers, and it's not just I hope we can do this someday, or I'm working on it. It's just not these tangential, ideas that aren't going to happen. They want real, solid policy ideas that we can actually implement.
And there's really no. I mean, when it comes to our issue, guns, there's a huge chasm between the two of you. She is extremely anti. You're extremely pro Second Amendment. I guess she even wanted to do like a memorandum in support of SB 2, which basically would have gotten rid of concealed carry. I mean, she really is an extremist there, where you've been thoroughly vetted by us and endorsed. But so I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on Second Amendment. I do want to talk more about, what does differentiate, other than the Second Amendment, because it's crystal clear that she's anti and you're for. But what are some other things that differentiate you from her?
Well, okay, and going to SB 2, and I would imagine all your listeners are very familiar with that Senate bill, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So that is the difference between her and I. She wants to focus on law-abiding citizens and restrict their rights. Mm-hmm. Well, I actually want to focus on people committing the crime and causing the issues. So out the 20 years I've been with the city, I was an officer before this. Guess how many crimes that I could document that we've had committed by someone with a concealed carry permit?
I'm going to guess 0.
Yeah, I'm going to guess goose egg, 0.
Good guess, 0. But now we're going to have legislation that she supports that punishes the people that haven't committed one crime with that. And that's the difference between us. It's, we need to focus if we really want to reduce violence, we got to focus our attention elsewhere.
Interesting. And what are some non-Second Amendment issues that really differentiate the two of you? What direction would you like to see Oceanside go that she's, either opposes or is in the way of?
So I'll use one of probably the most pressing issue in San Diego County, our homeless crisis, right?
Yeah.
Something that I am very aware of just with my time as an officer, my time on council. And for me, it's clear. You have to have a very clear two-prong approach. So first prong is we're going to provide compassionate services for those that will accept them. But we have to enforce our quality of life laws and address those service-resistant individuals. And it's not okay in Oceanside to shoot up fentanyl on the street, to break into stores and steal less than $900. We're going to have some law and order in our city. We're not going to turn into a San Francisco or Los Angeles where people feel like there's no consequences. And that's our biggest difference. She criticized me during the forum that I was too focused on police with some of these. Police, look, we're not trying to lock up and throw away the key with homeless issues, but we have to enforce our laws. And she doesn't want to, and it's very concerning.
Well, it's interesting because that is a common issue. It's happening in every city in San Diego County, probably in every city in California. I was actually visiting this little town up in Northern California, a little tiny town in Northern California where they were complaining about the same thing. So I don't even think this is a big city issue. This is an all over California issue. But if somebody's shooting up drugs, whether they're homeless or not, that's not a homeless issue. They're shooting up drugs. If somebody is being aggressive towards somebody else, whether they're homeless or not, they're being aggressive towards somebody else. I mean, it's almost like, well, that's no longer a homeless issue. They're just they're breaking the law. They're that's a criminal issue. But and I think what you're saying, I don't know, correct me if you're wrong, but if somebody does need the help, if they're homeless or they're a drug addict or something like that, you want to get them the help. But,
Right.
if they don't get the help and they're still out there breaking laws, homeless or not, they got to go to jail.
And now you've summed it up very succinctly. So we have right now you can use drugs. You can get caught with fentanyl on the street. In the past, you would have gone to a program. Then you can go break into a store and steal less than $900 and get a ticket for both of those. Those tickets will turn into warrants, and you can't book those people on a warrant. So we don't have any way to help break that cycle and get people the substance abuse or mental health treatment they need. And that's the challenge. It's a critical issue in California.
20 seconds.
All right, cool. Ryan, thank you so much for running. Look forward to seeing you as the new mayor of Oceanside. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for the support. Thank you.
Hey, a self-defense event happens in seconds. In the time it takes to listen to this commercial, your life could change forever. I pray you're never forced to shoot in self-defense, but if you must, then you must be ready. That's why the USCCA exists, because every responsibly armed American should have the training and education to navigate a self-defense situation. And should you ever need it, the 24/7 critical response team is right there for you. Get signed up with our friend Adam Bendis. Give him a call, 619-318-6803. Signing up is real easy. Get the education and protection you need. Enjoy the peace of mind. And if you are ever in a self-defense incident, just give Adam a call at 619-318-6803. And you'll be good to go.
Heck yeah. Adam's the best.
Yep, he is.
Subscribe and win. Subscribe to our email list, and you could win some swag. This week's winner is Harry Young. Email, Harry, if you could, email us at prizes@gunownersradio.com to claim your T-shirt or hat. Best thing to do if you want a T-shirt is to let us know what size. That will almost ensure success. So thank you, Harry Young. If you want to be entered to win, just go to gunownersradio.com and then subscribe to our email list. It's very important. There's a significant difference between San Diego County Gun Owners list and Gun Owners Radio's list. San Diego County Gun Owners list tends to be more political, where Gun Owners Radio's list tends to be more event driven. We try not to combine the list, although there's a significant amount of overlap, because we want to make sure that we're not sending you an encyclopedia, 7 days a week. There's so much going on that we want to make sure that we break it up so that you can more easily see what's going on. So subscribe to gunownersradio.com. Subscribe to their list so you don't miss anything. And also you might win a hat or a shirt. Okay, tomorrow, Lead Talks. We started doing Lead Talks every Monday night. Sorry to those who tuned in last Monday. We had some technical difficulties and some unforeseeable circumstances that prevented us from having our Lead Talk last Monday. But we return tomorrow, 7 p.m. on Facebook, X, and YouTube. We're going to interview attorney extraordinaire John Dillon. He is going to give a talk on how to talk to activists. And I'm actually very fascinated. I can't wait to hear. If there's one thing that attorneys can do, it's talk in an influential way. That's really what their whole job is, at least in the courtroom. Okay. Gun Show is for classy people. Oh, I get it, because we're going to talk about gun classes. Is that what that is? All right. Gun Show is for classy people. So sign up today. We have all kinds of cool classes. So if you buy a ticket to the Gun Show, you get to go see a cool gun show. It's in Escondido, right? September 7th and 8th. That's is that next weekend? Wow. We're a week away. So it's next weekend, guys. Is today the 1st?
Yes.
All
day long.
All day long. September 1st is today. So next weekend is the gun show. So please, please, please buy your tickets. Go to gunownersradio.com/gun show. You can buy your tickets today. But you can also check out some really cool classes. So the symposium is free. You'll get some cool free lectures. But the classes you get to sign up for, it's even better. There are going to be classes like Home Defense by former Navy SEAL Perry Yee, who's an awesome guy. Love that guy to death. Really knows his stuff. Great instructor. So he's going to be giving a class on home defense. And I'll tell you, there's just nobody better than Perry when it comes to that subject. Another one is Dry Fire, how to train at home for free And that, of course, is our buddy Matthias Quallenberg. He's going to be teaching that class. Rifle Basics with Mike DeSargo. Intro to Off-Grid Communications with John Baldwin. And then you are going to take home a Baofeng UV5R, or you could take home. You will take home. So if you pay for this class, you will take home a Baofeng UV5R. Whoa! We're just giving that away, huh? Holy cow. It's included with the price of admission. So if maybe you've been looking at a Baofeng UV5R and you just haven't quite pulled the trigger yet, this is it, guys. This is your opportunity. I have no idea what a Baofeng UV5R is. But man,
it's a radio.
Okay. Well, there you go. You just get one? You're just giving it away? Golly. Okay, to clean your gun with Dwight. How to clean your gun with Dwight. Yeah, Dwight's with Seal 1. Dwight is a mountain of a man, awesome guy. And you're going to actually get to take home a Seal 1 cleaning kit. I know what that is. That I know it is. And that's a $40 value. So if you take this class on how to clean your gun, Dwight will show you how to do it with Seal 1, the absolute best. And you're also going to get to take home a Seal 1 cleaning kit, which is awesome. Free Kids Gun Safety class with Derek LeBlanc. He's been there he was there last time anyway. I can't remember if he's been at every gun show, but Derek LeBlanc's coming all the way. I think he's coming all the way from Oregon. And he's bringing his bouncy house so that people can, kids specifically, can learn gun safety, which is awesome. I got to tell you, I think that's very, very cool that you can, have your family come down, check out some guns, check out some ammo, buy some guns if you like. All local laws and waiting periods and everything do apply. And then, if you bring the neighbor's kids or you bring your grandkids or you bring your own kids, Derek LeBlanc will teach them gun safety and have some fun. You'll actually get to shoot a BB gun while you're there. Taking a class is one of the stations in the QR Quest game. If you want to get the points for taking a class, sign up today, gunownersradio.com/gun-show. So the QR Quest game is kind of like, what's that?
It's like a scavenger hunt.
Yeah, but what was that game everybody was all excited about a few years ago?
Oh, like Pokemon Go?
Yeah, it's like Pokemon Go. It's like Pokemon Go, but guns.
Guns.
So basically, you get a list of booths, and if you go scan a QR code at each booth, what happens? You get what do you get?
You get points.
You get points.
And then the following show will pick the winners for.
Gotcha. You could win some cool stuff. You can win some cool stuff. That's what's important. So very cool. I'm still floored by this Baofeng UV5R. I got to tell you. That's like for any Frank Zappa fans out there, the Telefunken U45. Does anybody know that reference? Man, is that obscure. Baofeng UV5R. I don't think anybody likes Frank Zappa. Does anybody Frank?
Not
You don't
anymore.
like? No. You ever listen to Frank Zappa, Dave?
No.
No. Nobody listened to that dude.
You
Oh,
were
wait, isn't that the one where it says, don't eat the yellow snow?
That was one of his songs.
Oh, I love that guy.
There you go. Well, he had a line on one of his.
He had a lot of really cool songs, come to think
life
of it.
lessons.
Yeah,
A lot of life lessons.
Yeah, a lot of life lessons.
yeah. I think a Telefunken U45 is actually a microphone.
Yeah, what is that?
I think it's a microphone. Write in the comments if you know what a Telefunken U45 is. Pretty sure it's a microphone.
We're giving it away?
We're not giving that away. No, Dave. Oh. We're giving away a Baofeng UV5R.
What the hell is that?
Baofeng, maybe?
What is that?
Well, it's only the best version of that thing that you're going to be able to find in Southern California, Dave.
Remember the radio talk that we had last week with John
It's a
Baldwin?
ham.
Ham radio?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's his talk.
okay.
Yeah.
Still don't know.
So it's a ham. Even better than Virginia ham. Baofeng UV5R.
We're giving that away. We're
Just
that
giving it away. All you do is pay for the class, and we give you that thing, man.
Wow.
I know. You don't have to, no 10-day wait period on that. You don't have to jump through any hoops.
Wow. That's amazing. You going to get one?
Maybe.
I can't imagine the line.
You get everything else that doesn't make sense.
I think, is it like a walkie-talkie? It's like a walkie-talkie.
I haven't taken the class yet. I don't know.
But as soon as she gets one, she'll bring it in and do a review.
I wonder how much is that. What is that worth? A Baofeng.
What?
I'll be right back. I'll let you know.
Couple grand.
EAO.
Couple grand.
Couple grand.
That's what you're giving away.
We're not giving away a couple grand. If we are, I'm going, and then I'm
Gonna take it, sell
it on eBay for half that.
Okay.
Anyway, that's Intro to Off-Grid
You
Communications.
can't
with John
even
Baldwin.
spell it. How are you going to look it up?
I can spell it.
No, I'm talking. Look at
Oh.
little Miss Computer Whiz here.
Baofeng.
Yeah, Baofeng.
Didn't that girl get famous for saying that on YouTube?
No, that's Hawk Tui.
Oh, that was close. Anyway, how much is it?
Well, there's a couple different versions. They
Oh,
range from
right.
$30 to $45, depending.
Oh,
on
30 to 45 bucks.
That's even
Oh,
worse.
here's one for $55. It just depends.
Well, there you
There's a
go. A
range.
$50 value, give or take a couple
Yeah.
of bucks. You get your own Baofeng.
I want one. You want one? You want a
All
Baofeng?
Gotta go take a class.
That's enough of that. Let's get to.
Let's take a break.
Yeah, Big Bill Desy's next from
All
CCW
right.
USA.
Maybe Bill knows
Love
what it
Bill.
is.
Love
Come
that
on.
guy.
I bet Bill knows what it is. What do you want to bet?
I
bet he knows what a Baofeng
Is he on the
is.
line? I wonder if he's listening. No time. Don't
He is
Google
on
it. He is? All right.
Yes, he'll know what it is.
Don't Google it, Bill. We want to see.
Yeah,
well,
don't do it.
I
No.
think we already gave it
You're
away.
not Sam the Gunman.
Baofeng.
That could be my new band. I'm serious. Not Me is for women by women, and it's designed to help women with training, purchasing a gun, and getting a concealed carry permit. And guess what? It's totally free. If you are a woman or you know a woman who needs help, have her sign up, and we'll give her all the help she needs. How do you sign up? Just go to notmesd.org.
You know what's interesting about that out there? We're actually doing that this week coming up.
Are you?
I'm running a class for the Not Me group. Yeah.
Are you teaching?
Oh, what's the class?
So we're going to be. It's essentially going to be like almost like a meet and greet. We're inviting the women in. They're going to come in. They're going to learn everything that they need to know. First of all, to be comfortable and confident to pass their FSC, and we're going to give them that FSC test and issue those cards to those who pass. And then we're going to have a plethora of guns there for them just to kind of handle there in class, get to kind of feel them in their hand, see what they can function, where their little fingers and nubs can reach, what they can't, what's usable and rackable, and just what might be a good fit for them to consider purchasing.
So do they have to sign up for this?
They do. Yep.
How do
And
they do
Desy
that?
has a list. Yeah.
Oh, just
Yeah.
go to Not Me SG.
I think you got to be in the program.
Yep. Got to be in the program.
Well,
So
that
you
helps.
gotta go to not me. Go to sdcgo.org/notme, and you can actually sign up there. So if you know any women who are in need, they either need to own a gun, they need training, or they need a CCW, go to sdcgo.org/notme. They
Sounds
could
like
be involved in all kinds of cool stuff too. All right, Bill Desy from CCW USA, my buddy, my pal. How you doing, man?
I am doing fantastic, sir. How about yourself?
Very good. It's good to talk to you.
Hey, Bill.
How are you? Good to hear from you.
Good. Good.
Okay, so you're doing a symposium talk at the gun show, right?
I am.
And the subject is how to get your CCW in 2024.
That is correct. And 2025 and 2026 and
Yeah,
et cetera, et cetera.
hopefully, yeah, exactly right. So it's amazing how many. I mean, if you look back over the last 10 years or so, it's amazing how things have changed year to year. I mean, it's gotten, in a lot of ways, it's gotten easier. There's a couple little snags or tricks or I don't know, little hurdles that you got to know about, but for the most part, much easier than it was 10 years ago.
Yes, it is. And they just removed the element, obviously, of good cause. So you have to write a big dissertation and paper on why you need a permit or why you need to exercise your rights, which I don't think we've ever needed for any other rights. I didn't have to write a paper for that.
No, I think you're right. So how long has CCW USA been around now?
2003.
Wow.
I
21.
worked for another company for 10 years before that. I worked for Public Safety Training Association, and then started CCW USA in 2003.
Wow. 21 years. Congratulations, man.
Well, you can do math. That's amazing.
Well, Alicia actually, she held up a bunch of fingers, and I figured
Oh, you have a calculator is what I figured. Hey, just to give you a heads up, I'm at the zoo, so there could be unusual noises in the background. It's not me. It's screaming children and wild animals.
All right, cool.
Or maybe
One
it's
of the
Tiffany. I
same.
don't know. It could be Tiffany. Yeah.
So, what are you looking forward to most about the gun show? Talk about, we had this gun show at Del Mar for years, decades.
Yeah.
And then it went away. And now we're rebuilding in a different venue. What are your thoughts on that?
So what I liked about the old gun show, what I'd like to see with the new gun show is competitive pricing, or what we used to call like a little price war. And that was you go into one building and the prices would be whatever they are, especially for things like ammo or things that you buy regularly. And then you go into another building and you could go like, hey, the other building has it for cheaper. Somebody would run over there. They would verify the price. They'd come back. They'd cross out their price and they would lower it. Now I'm talking about like prices were much lower then, but so they're like, if it was $10 a box, they would drop it to $8. If it was $8, they'd drop it to $6. And we're not going to get those prices, but it'd be nice to see some competitive pricing. I already know there's a couple of Labor Day sales going on right now that are pretty good for San Diego. So I'm like, I wonder if the gun show will have lower prices or if they'll be able to compete with that, hopefully, because they're not buying anything right now.
And how now you're teaching this class on how to get a CCW. What are you seeing as far as CCWs and obtaining CCWs? How are your students and talk about the process. Not what to do, because I don't want you to cover what you're going to cover in the class, but talk about like what you're seeing and who you're seeing.
We're seeing so classes are full. We're seeing a lot of people get through the process. We're still processing. I think there's like 7,000 applications in that still get to do the 8-hour class, and then we're occasionally getting people that, like, I want to say the last class we had that had people that need the 16-hour class, we had like 10. So not a big class, but other classes are, 18, 20. That's pretty normal. But it's nice for people to go, hey, I get to do the 8-hour class. And other folks are like, well, what are you going to do for 2 days, for 16 hours? We developed an entire curriculum. Joe Dramisi and myself developed an entire curriculum that covers a lot of different things and important things that weren't like maybe as in depth or weren't required to get your permit a year ago. And we just are able to go into a little bit more on situational awareness, avoidance, deeper dive into concealment, gear, equipment, all that stuff. So we can answer a lot more questions. We're not rushed for time. So we can cover a lot more material. So it's kind of nice. We basically, the first day class that we do now as part of that 16-hour course is all classroom. So it's a nice setup, and it also prepares people way more for when they get to the range. Because I'll tell you, one of the things we've run into, and this is pretty common with all training, is people show up and they're just not prepared. Oh, I don't have a holster. Oh, I don't have any glasses. I forgot my hat. Whatever it is, they just either they don't read the email, or they just don't know what they need to bring to a class because they haven't done a lot of training.
So because it's 2 days, you're saying that you can, hey, tomorrow you're going to need X, Y, and Z, and they show up prepared this time? Is that the idea?
Yeah, and it's very rarely tomorrow. There's only one day a month where it's 2 days in a row. Sorry, the bus is driving by. It's usually you do the first day class on a Saturday, and then you do the range either on the following Friday or another Saturday. And what's nice is it's very difficult for a lot of folks logistically to just take off a day or take off 2 days in a row. You can't really, I guess you could call in sick, but I don't recommend that. However, if you do call in sick, just call in and just say, hey, I have a temperature. Just don't tell them what it is. It's 98.6.
That's true. We all have a temperature, don't we?
Yeah, we all have a temperature. So there you go. So you're not lying. But a buddy of mine told me that's what he does for his kids. But so basically, there is an opportunity to take the class back to back like that. Most people I've run into are like, hey, I want to do this class. You could even do this class this month, and the range class, which is a portion of his classroom, gun safety, weapon handling, and then range. That is a completely different day. They'll do it like one in this month, one next month.
So that's kind of nice. And then we also have a lot of folks that are in process right now. They'll do the first 8-hour class right now, even though their appointment's not for 6 months or a year. And then that gives them a ton of information to work with and process, and so a lot of people haven't even bought their gun yet. So they will process all the information, get their equipment, get their holster, decide what they're going to do, maybe do private training. I've had a lot of people doing private training before their class, so they're proficient when they get to the class. And kudos to them. That's our top shooter, is whoever's done some private training ahead of time. It's not the Navy SEAL. It's not the military guy. It's not the guy with 50 years of experience. It's someone that recently trained and learned how to shoot their gun better, and they'll do really well. But that gives them a lot of time to do that and be more prepared when they get to the final class. And what's nice is the Sheriff's Department said, yeah, we don't care when you take the class. You just have to take the final portion of the class. The certification form has to be dated within 90 days. So I usually say take the first half now, take the second half after you get your approval. Or what I'm hearing from a lot of students lately is they're saying, oh, they told me I just got approved yesterday. They're telling me to go schedule my class and take it now. So they're not making them wait 90 days. They had their appointment. They haven't got their approval yet, but they know that the certificate's good for 90 days. The background check's going to take 90 days. So they're telling people to go take your class before you get your approval, which is kind of nice. They didn't used to do that.
They're doing a lot of things. Licensing in general, they're doing a lot of things that I think are far more common sense. And, than 10 years ago, it was like a struggle.
Oh, yeah.
This
is the way we've always done it.
This is the way we've always done it. You just do it or you don't get it, or, get out of my classroom, or get out of my office, whatever. Whereas now they're like, yeah, let's figure this out. We want everybody to get a permit. If you can, if you pass the class, if you're not a criminal, we want you to get a permit. And I think the attitude change alone leads to so many additional benefits. It's getting better and better.
That's huge.
Well, that's awesome, man.
Hang on. I got a screaming baby. I got to see if I can move over here without losing any bars. Yeah, I was afraid of moving, so I hadn't relocated. No, I was going to say you're right. And what's happened a lot of times is they want to provide a good service to the public, and anything that makes their job easier. So, like, even if we come up with ideas, you and I have shared ideas with them in the past. We're like, hey, why don't you guys do this? And they're like, well, right now we can't. So the idea has to be introduced to the Sheriff's Command staff. They have to kind of review it. They have to make sure it's legal. They have to make sure everything's okay. Then they turn around and go, hey, does this make the process easier for either the public, or does it make it easier for us from the Sheriff's Department perspective to process your application? And if it does, it's kind of a win-win. Why wouldn't we do that? So it's like they definitely want to do that.
There you go. Exactly right. Well, Bill, thank you so much, man. I'm looking forward to hearing your talk at the gun show. Thank you so much for being supportive. CCW USA is always so supportive of Gun Owners Radio and San Diego County Gun Owners, and Bill Desy is the CCW instructor OG in San Diego.
He was my, Bill, you did my first course.
Way back then.
Way back.
And look at how good you are now. You know why you're so good?
Because I took your course.
Awesome instructor.
That's it.
No, because you train. You train regularly. I see you out on the range. I see you training different instructors and doing different classes and stuff. So if you're not sharpening the saw, if you're not renewing your mind, we just get old and stale. I don't want to be old and stale.
That's it.
So
that's key.
I want to encourage people to train. Hey, real quick, Baofeng radios. I have 2 of them in my car.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, look at that. He knows.
All right.
I was listening.
I'm a little impressed.
All right, Bill. Thanks a lot and have a great one.
There.
Hey, if you're a busy owner and feels like you're wasting money on your marketing, it's probably because you are not talking to your customers in a way that they understand. A lot of companies waste money or marketing because they just don't have the words that make customers want to buy. That's why you should give Sage Tree a call. They are a San Diego certified Story brand guide. Story is the oldest form of communications, and Sage Tree can help you use it to grow your business. Getting started is real easy. Just visit sagetree.com and click on that schedule an appointment button now.
So you remember last week we were talking about some of the demographics, like how many Republicans, how many Democrats are in San Diego County. Remember we were kind of going over some numbers. So some interesting things. I'm going to talk about the national election, and then we'll talk about some local stuff. But so one of the interesting things that happened last week was RFK Jr. dropped out, right? So what does that mean? Because he didn't actually drop out, by the way. He put his campaign on hold.
Right.
And people read a little too much into that. You do that basically for legal reasons. If you just back out, if you say, "Oh, I'm done," then basically you got to give all the money back,
right,
to the donors. If you say, "Oh, I'm putting my campaign on hold," then you have a little bit more freedom, a little bit more, a few more options when it comes to the money that you've raised. So his campaign's on hold. He's trying to get his name off the ballots in battleground states,
and they won't let him.
So there's like 10. Well, they're trying not to let him. First, the Democrats were fighting to not let him on the ballot.
Right. Now they won't let him off.
Now they won't let him off. But the question is basically, look, what does this do to the race? Because he stepped out or, put his campaign on hold and endorsed Trump and said, hey, you need to vote for Trump. So what exactly does that do? Well, I have some interesting numbers. So he, in the polling, depending on state, was basically getting about 4 to maybe 6% of the vote,
right?
Which Trump and Harris are pretty neck and neck. So 5% is significant. If Trump was leading by 10 or Harris was leading by 10, that 5% would be negligible. But it's a real thing. So the next question is, well, what are those 5%? It's not always 5. Some places it's 4. Some places it's even 3.5. Some places it's 6. But let's just, for the purposes of ease, let's just call it 5%. So his 5%, what are those guys going to do? Because there's a lot of options. They could vote for Trump, like he says. They could not vote at all and just not show up. They could vote for Kamala, and decide, hey, you know what? I'm actually a little bit more in line with her because RFK Jr. is a Democrat. Or they could vote for somebody completely different. They could write somebody in or, Green Party or something.
What's that one guy, the black guy that they won't let on the ballot either?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I can't think of what the heck's his name.
They could vote for somebody else.
Yeah.
So they could not vote. They could vote for Trump. They could vote for Harris. They could vote for somebody else. Those are basically the options here. So they did some polling. They tried to figure out, well, how exactly does this affect? And it turns out that about 60% of the folks that were going to vote for RFK Jr. are going to vote for Trump. That's significant.
That's significant.
That's significant. So if you have two people who are neck and neck, like Trump and Harris are, and 60% say, hey, I'm going to vote for Trump, that definitely benefits Trump. Because the other 40%, not 100% of the 40% of the 5% are going to vote for Kamala, right? Some of them aren't going to vote at all. Some are going to vote for someone other than Kamala. And then some are going to vote for her. So it basically sews up some of these battleground states that are typically thought of as Republican, but they're really not. They're battleground states. I've been making fun of Arizona, and they deserve it for being purple. And this probably means that Arizona's going for Trump, whereas they went for Biden last time. So there's areas like Arizona, Nevada, Georgia. Georgia is another important battleground state that looks like it's going to, with the RFK Jr. endorsement of Trump, it looks like Trump has that pretty sewn up. The states that are important that aren't necessarily sewn up, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. But the good news is, for gun owners, because he's sewn up all these other states, because he now has Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, because he has those states, he only needs to win Pennsylvania or Michigan or Wisconsin to get to enough electoral votes to be the next president.
Right. By the way, the names I was thinking of, Jill Stein.
Yep, she's the Libertarian.
And Cornel West.
He's kind of the weird extremist guy from New York,
Right.
I don't know. I don't know
And
what their
Chase
situation-
Oliver.
I don't even know who that is.
Yeah, I don't. But they're not allowing them. No, not.
They
not
didn't
at
hit the minimums, the criteria
all.
to get on the ballot.
Cornell West did.
Well, if he did, then he's on the ballot. They can't just arbitrarily. They can't just say no if he got the signatures or whatever.
Yeah. So I mean, those are some of the ones that
Yeah.
are not even in the game.
But that's the good news. I think that's important news. People kind of wonder, like, well, I don't know, what does this mean with RFK? And what it means
How
is
much do you believe in polls?
well, it's not. Here's what I believe that polls are extremely accurate if you understand what polls are trying to accomplish. So polls are a simple snapshot of a subset of people
At a certain time.
period of time.
Because if you get a call
Yeah.
and you inadvertently pick up the phone,
Right.
are you going to tell the truth?
Probably. I mean, I will, but
really.
like the truth today might be different than the truth
to me,
tomorrow.
It's none of your business.
I hear it. So that's why I say it's a subset of people.
Yeah.
But it at least, again, so I think people think you got to understand what polls are. You know, it's kind of like it's like taking your big toe, right, and putting it in the pool, you know, and kind of that feels like it's about 70 degrees. It might not be 70 degrees.
Yeah, but look at Hillary. Hillary
might not be 70
Hillary
degrees.
was supposed to win in
It might be
2016.
65 degrees.
Right.
It might be 75 degrees. It might be different on the other end of the pool, right? If you go deeper, it might be colder.
It will.
You know what I mean? That's actually a really good analogy.
Yeah, it is.
That's
But stop and think about it. When you look at the polls
Yeah.
in 2016,
Yep.
Hillary was a runaway.
Yes. Right.
Because I don't think a lot of Trump people are ever going to tell anybody that they're going to vote for Trump. And I think there's a certain amount of people that are going to vote for him that are not going to tell you they're going to vote for him.
Well, the other thing is you have to know who is the person taking the poll is very important. You know, you have Republican pollsters, you have Democrat pollsters. If you're a if you commission a poll, a survey, you're going to get the answers you want.
See, I would rather go with the orangutan at the Chicago Zoo, who has been 100% on every presidential.
You have Bill bring him home for you.
Well, he's at the San Diego Zoo.
Oh.
What does the orangutan say this time?
I don't know. I haven't heard it. I just made that up. But there are animals out there that have made
Puxatawny
predictions.
Yeah. Well,
What's his name? Your buddy Phil?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah,
I can't say that
your
word.
buddy Phil.
Yeah, we call him Phil.
Yeah.
but I depending on the poll and what they've started to do is you get like these conglomerate polls where they say, hey, look, here are 10 fairly reliable pollsters, and here's basically what they're saying. Let's combine them all. And what all it does, like I said, it gives you a temperature check. Okay, where are we at? So if I were the Trump campaign, how much money would I spend in California? Zero.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Not a dime.
No.
There's absolutely nothing that California. Every dime that the Trump campaign spends in California is a complete waste of money. But if I'm going to spend money, I'm going to spend it in Pennsylvania. I'm going to spend it in Wisconsin. I'm going to spend it in Michigan. I'm going to spend a little less money in Arizona.
And I'd
Nevada,
be
and Georgia.
I'd be in the public's face, just like he's doing. He talks to everybody. He rambles. He was talking to Mark Levine last night,
Yeah.
and I had to change the channel.
Well, who I liked his. Who's that guy? Theo Vaughn. Do you know who he is?
Yeah.
He had an interview with Theo Vaughn.
Yeah.
It was a really good interview.
He will interview anybody.
We should get him. Why don't we? What about us?
I don't know.
We got to reach out.
Because I don't know.
We got to reach out and see
He's
if we can.
supposed to have it dialed in.
Yeah, you talk to Trump all the time, Rich, on the phone.
And you
guys
know
are-
what's her name.
Let's get him on the ham radio.
You know what's her name. The
Who do I
lady,
know? There's a lady who I know.
her dad wrote Red Dawn.
Oh, Amanda Milius. We can reach out to her.
I have to show you this when we go to break.
Somebody somebody on a totally separate thread. I just introduced this person on Facebook to John Milius. It was actually John Petrolino. We should have talked about that. We'll talk about that next week. John Petrolino wrote a fantastic article about that piece that we did that was funded in part by Not Me California. He wrote a fantastic article. Go to Not Me's Facebook page, Not Me California's Facebook page. Oh, cool. And
on a Ford Focus.
And you'll see John Petrolino. Of course, we'll send it out via email. You can check it out. John Petrolino wrote a fantastic article on the study that we did, and he posted it, and he was talking about it, and a friend of his was talking about how, what is it, the 4570, what's the
4573?
4573, how in Red Dawn they mentioned it. Well, he talked about that, and I was like, well, yeah, and I introduced this guy to John Melius, and he actually just wrote back and said, oh my gosh, I had no idea. Now I've helped create another John Melius fan. But anyway, so I wanted to tell you what was going on, what I know, what I've read. At the end of the day, there's only one poll that matters, and that happens on November 5th.
That's exactly right.
And guess what you can do to affect the presidential race? Nothing. You can't do a thing. You can't do one thing. Show up and vote, absolutely. But you know what you can do? You can affect local races. Go to San Diego County Gun Owners.org, San Diego County Gun Owners.com or SDCGO.org. Yep. Check out our voter guide. Check out our volunteer page and get involved. Yes, it's very interesting to hear what's going on with Kamala and Trump. But the reality is you have zero influence on that. There is nothing you can do. But Ryan Keim, the guy that we had on, you can help him win. He can absolutely, and he needs your help.
He needs to win.
Kevin Faulkner, you can help him win.
Right.
Jim Miller out in East County, you can help him win. These are people where you can decide to spend a little time, maybe even a little money, and you can actually move the needle and decide the future that you want. So
and when in doubt, go to the SDCGO voter guide.
There you go.
Seal 1 gets compared to frog lube a lot. Well, they're different, very different. With frog lube, you need degreasing solvent, lubricants, protectants. And how many different types of frog lube do you need? It's just too much and way more work than it needs to be. So with Seal 1, it's one and done. Wipe it on, wipe it off, and you're done. Buy some now at seal1.com. And we want a big shout out to Seal 1 for sponsoring Sam the Gunman.
Yeah, big shout out to Seal 1. You guys are the best. Dwight, you are a gentleman, a scholar, and a fine judge of scotch. So thank you so much for all that you do for Gun Owners Radio, and see you at the gun show next weekend. Okay, time for everybody's favorite segment, Stump My Nephew. We found out years ago that my nephew Sam, the gunman, is really good at gun trivia. So if you send in a question, we read it on the air, you get a hat or a shirt, and if you stump my nephew with your question, well, you get something special. Let's see, today you're fighting for 2 free tickets to Gun Prom. So let's see what we can do. Sam, how you doing, man?
I'm well. How are you guys?
Good, man. I think this is a good question. I think you're going to like this question.
Does that mean it's hard, or?
Oh, you're just going to like it.
I think it's interesting.
It's specific, so it's like one of those, you either know it or you don't know it, but it's a good quality question. It's not some weird like, hey, what did Patton's cat carry for a sidearm or whatever, Yeah.
And Alicia likes it because she's been saying it over and over.
I've been practicing.
Yeah, the Lone Ranger's nephew's horse.
Right. Fred.
Okay.
I always figured Patton for more of a dog guy than a cat guy. I don't know.
Well, that's why it's a bad question.
And what kind of vehicle do you think Patton drove?
Tank.
A U.S. Army issue Jeep while he was at work.
That's exactly correct.
He had a bulldog. Didn't he have like a bulldog?
I don't know.
I don't think he had a bulldog.
Somebody write in and let me know what kind of dog Patton had.
Alicia, quick, jump on it.
I'm pretty sure he had a bulldog. I thought it was like a French bulldog or like a Spuds McKenzie looking dog. Okay, all right. Here's the question. Al from San Diego asks. You ready for this, Sam? What is an ADAR 215 or an ADAR 215?
Al from what, Escondido, did you say?
San Diego.
Al from San Diego. Thanks very much for writing in. What is an ADAR 215? This,
Whoa.
that sounds really familiar, and I'm going to mess this up. I want to say that was an earlier pattern of side-by-side combination AR before the Gilboa snake, but that feels wrong. He might have me.
Wait.
You're actually keep going.
Yeah, what are you saying now? Go for it. Yeah.
What country?
Yeah, what's the country of origin? Let's start there. Do you know the country?
Well,
if you don't know the country of origin, you're not going to get it right. So what's the country of origin of an ADAR 215?
Well, the Gilboa snake is of Israeli origin, so I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that was not the first time they came up with that idea, so I'm going to guess Israel.
No. All right. No. It's not. Okay, an ADAR 215, that's okay. It's a good question. When I read the answer, you're going to like it.
Well, you said he's either going to know it or not.
But you either know it or you don't know it. Okay, so it's an ADAR 215. It's basically a Russian version of an AR-15 with the following differences, and it still uses 5.56. One, it's got wooden furniture. Both the stock and handguard are wood. It's made in Russia, and it's made for the Russian civilian market, specifically for hunting and shooting sports.
So there you go. And by the way, Patton's dog was Willie, and it was a bull terrier, thanks to Todd, our board op.
Oh, there you go.
That's McKinsey. Yep.
Well, Al, you got me. That was a good one.
That was a good one. It's kind of interesting. If you look up a picture of an ADAR 215, it looks like a
AR 215.
Like a Grand, maybe?
Well, it's like I don't know. It looks like a novelty gun, with the wooden furniture.
Well, it is Russian.
Yeah, it's true. But I guess the wooden furniture is indicative of it being.
Why would you call
for
it
civilians.
Furniture?
That's the term. Hey, Sam, why do they call it furniture?
Because it furnishes the weapon, I guess.
Yeah.
He made that up. I could tell on that one. There wasn't a lot of thought that went into that answer.
Well, now Al has me curious. Does the answer he provided happen to specify whether it is produced with the dimensions all converted to metric, or did they have to buy separate tools in imperial dimensions?
Not on there.
Doesn't say. It's a good question. That's a little deeper.
So you stumped Al.
Yeah. Now Al owes us. I get to go to Gun Prom for free, Al, because.
Well, Russian gunsmiths listening to this show, all 0 of you, please let me know because I'm curious.
All 0 of you.
I'm looking it up. It doesn't even have its own
specs. I didn't
Wikipedia page. Mm-hmm. How similar is a Russian AR-15 to our AR-15? I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. Anyway, that's what it is. So check it out. If you get really bored, Google ADAR, ADAR, all caps, 2-15. ADAR 215. I see what you're talking about, that side-by-side AR. I know what you're talking about. When you started going down that road, the 215, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was a tough one. You got me.
So congratulations, Al. You get to go to Gun Prom for free. You stumped my nephew, and we all learned something. Hey, how's it going with your optics series?
Good. The third entry, if I'm counting correctly, the third entry in my Introduction to Optics blog post series is up now and has been since last Monday. And this most recent one, the first two talked about conventional rifle scopes, the dimensions and the specifications and the features. This most recent one talks about reflex sights and holographic sights a little bit. Now, there have been many thousands of words written on the topic and the difference between the two. So what I tried to cover is for the perspective of someone who knows nothing about optics at all and just doesn't know what he or she is looking at on the shelf, just trying to provide that basic level of foundational knowledge.
That's great.
That's interesting. Is there anything in particular that you learned? Well, because I know a lot of this you just kind of, you could almost, it just was like, second nature. It just came from memory. Was there anything in particular that you learned?
Well, no. What these posts are really me taking information I used to convey verbally when I worked in a store for a few years. Things that customers would ask over and over again. Just trying to write that all down in a nicely formatted form with some illustrations and fewer grammatical mistakes than I make when I'm speaking. So it's a little bit easier to consume.
And what optic is like taken over? Is it, reflex optics? Like, are they what's the optic that's just taken over the market?
The popular format right now seems to be fully enclosed pistol reflex sights. So if you can imagine a Trijicon RMR that has one lens That for a long time was the gold standard of reflex sights or red dot sights on handguns. But Aimpoint has a fully enclosed pistol dot, and some of the other manufacturers are beginning to jump on that. And the perceived advantage is that they are less prone to getting lint and condensation and all that stuff between the emitter and the lens itself. So it's a little bit more robust against environmental conditions. And even as someone who carries concealed without an optical sight on my pistol, I can attest to lint buildup being a thing.
Wow. Well, the reflex is in charge of finding treasure in the dark. This is obscure lyrics from Michael Schwartz.
2 minutes.
Awesome job. Thank you so much, Sam. Can't wait to, I haven't read the third in the series yet, but I look forward to it. And as always, man, great job.
Well, thanks for having me on. I hope it doesn't disappoint.
All right. Hey, enjoy your day off tomorrow.
Thanks. You too.
Thanks for watching this episode from Gun Owners Radio. If you're watching mainstream media, you're not getting the truth about guns and the Second Amendment. Gun Owners Radio is the easiest way to stay on top of the Second Amendment fight, the fight for your self-defense rights. You can watch our live stream on YouTube every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. California time, or if you're in San Diego, AM 1170, FM 96.1, The Answer. We're also available on your favorite podcast platform. Just do a search for Gun Owners Radio and you'll find our show. Don't forget to support our sponsors. Click on the links in the show notes and support the businesses that support your Second Amendment rights. Like and subscribe to help defend and restore the Second Amendment, not just in California, but across the country.